guest is Iowa women's basketball head coach Jan Jensen.
Iowa coach reveals exciting offer from Fever star Caitlin Clark. Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball coach Jan Jensen had one of the toughest jobs in college hoops last season, but it helps to know Caitlin Clark. In her first season as Iowa head coach, Jensen had to lead the Hawkeyes forward following the departures of all-time leading scorer Clark and longtime coach Lisa Bludder, who was with the Hawkeyes for 24 seasons. Jensen, the former associate head coach under Bludder, spearheaded a 23-11 campaign that included an upset win over No. 4 USC in February and a trip to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Jensen joined her local ABC station for Iowa Live, an in-depth interview highlighted by the untold story about the Indiana Fever superstar.
Had all this success, but sometimes when you have all that success, you can just kind of get used to it and think it's easy, and it's not. It's really difficult to get to that NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
You know, I look at some teams that have a lot of adversity, and it makes you appreciate the journey that much more. And it's hard for people sometimes to get past what you did have to replace.
Clark was planning to be in Iowa City for the game against National Player of the Year Juju Watkins and USC on February 2nd because she was getting her Iowa jersey retired at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Before that game, Jensen recalls, about 10 days before, Caitlin says, "Hey, do you want me to practice?" And I said, "Don't tease me." "No, for real," Clark insisted, according to her former coach. "I could be Juju." Jensen said she was thrilled by the offer, made possible by a recent NCAA rule change that allows alumni to practice with their former teams. She turned Clark's homecoming into an unmissable event, inviting Bludder and several recruits to watch the practice. According to Jensen, the WNBA star mimicked Watkins pretty well, but threw in a few of her legendary logo shots to keep the Hawkeyes on their toes. Clark's scout team duties paid dividends for Iowa, who honored the program legend with a 76-69 win. Watkins had 27 points, but the Hawkeyes held her to 8 for 22 from the field and just 1 for 7 from deep. Clark will return to the main court at Carver Hawkeye Arena on May 4th, when the Indiana Fever will take on the Brazil national team in an exhibition game in front of the Iowa fans and a national television audience ahead of the 2025 WNBA season. The internet took that as a challenge. Before Iowans could finish their coffee Tuesday morning, video was circulating of the infamous scrimmage that Clark has never let her victims live down. "So I think I had 22 points in 2 minutes was the moral of the story," Clark recalled. "We ended up winning and our boy practice players didn't hear the end of it. They still don't. I love to bring it up. Here is the footage, which first emerged during Iowa's run to the NCAA championship game last March. Unbelievable," said a fan who saw the footage in 2025. "That's next level ridiculous."
All these players, plus you jumping in and trying to figure out everything on the run, and yet you put it all together. You were 2-6 at one point. What happened at that point to make sure?
"She is a sicko," said a response. "It is appropriate that Clark is helping break new frontiers at her old stomping ground, where her popularity first took off." On her way to setting the all-time NCAA scoring record for the Hawkeyes, Clark's teams accounted for the 3 most watched women's college basketball games of all time, all during the 2024 NCAA tournament. Iowa's Final Four game against Duke drew 14.2 million viewers, making it the most watched basketball game on the ESPN network in history, men's or women's, college or professional.
The most fun teams, and there's a lot of change. So when I just stayed in my lane and just kept...
On May 4th. The game will be on ESPN at 6 p.m. ET, unless there is a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs that day, in which case Clark and the Fever would move to ESPN2. Indiana organized the exhibition at Carver Hawkeye Arena, where Clark played 4 seasons of college basketball for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Tickets for the preseason showcase sold out within 45 minutes of being listed.
Comes up with an incredible steal.